All right, please welcome Liam Murray, founder and CEO of PIPP.ai and founding director of Build-Apps and Building Performance. Liam works at the intersection of commercial property operations, building performance data, and applied technology, helping portfolio owners move away from fragmented systems towards better data ownership, integration, and AI-enabled decision-making. His work has included Build-Apps' partnership with the Green Building Council of Australia on the digitalisation of Green Star Online, and Liam was recognised by the GBCA in 2024 as Green Star Champion. Is that true? Because AI wrote it.
Yeah.
Okay. A recurring theme in Liam's public commentary is that AI is only as useful as the quality of governance of the data beneath it. Please join me in welcome Liam Murray.
I think you can do questions at the end as part of a panel, so unless someone
It's up to you if you want to.
Unless someone wants to stop and go explain that to me. There's a lot of words in the slides, I'll share them afterwards, but it will jump around a little bit from deep AI, and don't worry if there's something up there about AI that you go, I've got no idea what that is, because it's part of the journey and where we're going to. My background, so been in Australia 15 years now, worked Arab across the road, and then, like I said, set up my own thing, but I've always been in this space of data and dealing with big data sets, and whether it was ESG, now a lot of it's leasing, investor reporting, lot of various different angles, but the big thing that I always saw was I'm being paid to go and find someone's data that should already be organised, and so that's why we started. Originally I didn't want to call the platform PIPP.ai, but one of our investors, we were using AI 5 years ago, said you have to put AI in the name, you have to be now every company's got AI in the name, so I'm almost like, when I cross it out, go, it's just PIPP if you want to just call it PIPP. This is the bit that I'm not expecting everyone in the room to know what these are and what they mean, but getting an understanding, and then at the end of it I'm almost going to tell you, don't worry about all of that, because the bit I'm going to talk about afterwards is more important. These are just words that people will throw around in the context of AI, so a large language model, and this is that idea, when you're using Google as a search engine, find me cheese, it will find you cheese. Large language model is trained on lots of different nodes and journeys that it will pre-train to know, so when you say find me cheese, it goes, you might also like crackers and grapes, because it's already got this knowledge and it can look for different things, so it goes beyond just a logical search. It's got lots of different directions that it tries to go down, and then as it gets feedback, it gets better with that. Does that make sense? Some large language models are trained on absolutely everything. Some of it's on a confined set. The speed at which it can work as well, it varies. Prompt, so I think 3 years ago, everybody was celebrating the first job advert in America for a prompt engineer. So somebody who just asks questions. And as an engineer, I'm going, that's literally what our job was, but and now everyone's got Copilot or Claude Work, whatever it is, you're all prompt engineers. So, and a prompt is just a question that you're asking it. That makes sense? Nothing more fancy than that. You're putting it in, it can then yield. The big thing with prompts, you need to give it feedback that it's right, wrong, no, that's right, because then it'll get better. The amount of people I talk to and they say, we put this one in, it's rubbish. And I'm like, day one, it's rubbish. Keep going. It learns what you like, what you don't like. It will know everything about you. NLP, so natural language processing or natural language programming. This is just talking to it. So vibe coding is something that we do quite a lot of, where you're not like the guys I had who were all writing Python scripts and language called M to make Power BI dashboards. They're now having to forget all that and just describe what they want, and then keep arguing with it. No, I don't like that, make this blue. No, I don't like that, make this more prominent. No, I don't like that, can you make a flow? So people who can describe what they want are more valuable now than people who can just write code. And universities are still not catching up with that. They're still, when I speak to quite a few of the universities, they're trying to, we need coders. We don't need coders, we need thinkers who can see something, break it down, understand the problem, and then recognise when it's wrong. So I can build you an app in an hour, but if you don't know that it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, we're both just wasting our time. That make sense? An agent, so that's just the interface that you talk to. The agent can have skills and it can have data sources. Yeah, if you're using a full, I refer to them as a public model, so something that's searching the whole internet, it's trained on the whole of the internet. So when you're asking the standard Claude model or the standard GPT model or Gemini, it's searching the whole internet, everything that it's been trained on, and normally it's a snapshot point of view where it's got. And then you've got the opposite extreme where you can have an agent, like where we make agents that only knowledge is that building. You can't tell you anything that doesn't exist outside of that building's data set. So it's restricted, it doesn't know what the state of origin is. You can ask it and it'll go, okay, I only know about 100, I only know about this building. Yeah, and it's the speed at which you're going to get an accurate result. And there's different agents for different purposes. Using the wrong tool for the wrong purpose is very much, the wrong thing to do. Skills, so this is where the agent's not going to replace your job. Your job's going to be to manage the skills that the agent can do. So, you're providing it skills and explaining it, no, when I need a rent roll doing, it should go like this and this should be included. Then each month you can just say update the rent roll and it'll go, and then you know what it looks like. So you're helping with the skills. The last one, the data source, and this is the bit where what I'm mainly going to talk about, because if you point your AI at bad data sources, you're going to get even worse results. And if you just take all of your data and throw it at an AI and think it's going to understand it, you're on a road to ruin. If you just tell it to look at all your leases, but you've got your current and your expired leases, it's going to be telling you the wrong expiry dates. It's going to be telling you when the wrong tenant. You've got to still basically be responsible for the data that it's using. This is why, just going and asking the standard model doesn't make sense. So, in our industry, we love to use acronyms, words that don't really make sense. That from services point of view, the FCUs connected to the chill water pump to the BMS. People don't know what the words I'm saying are. They're just letters. And then similar in the valuation game, there's that many times that tell me about the whale. It's going to bring up some sperm whales in your AI engine. doesn't know what you're talking about. So making sure you're in the right context and in the right field of where you need to be. And kind of this is how we start talking about there's a lot going on in real estate that you need to understand, and generic becomes hard. This is the holy grail that you're kind of going from, when you can take information from chiller or whatever it is, and then you can use that data point in any of those things at the very end of it. So you can use data that's about the chiller or from the chiller in your 20-year strategy. Or you might be using it to look at your enterprise risk if you've got a certain type of refrigerant in the building. Or the replacement of it is so complicated to get out of the building because it's right in the middle of the building. Being able to go on different pathways, there's endless questions that might get asked about that point. And then times that point by, a trillion. Other part of it, this is, I won't play it, but systems bingo. So, the modern buildings or portfolios over the years have collected various different systems for how they're going to do it, and so often they're all separated. I won't do it now, but you've probably all been involved or seen what one of those are, and then there's a whole another series of different types of systems and what people are calling them. It's all irrelevant, they all just hold data points. Whatever you're going to call it, there's an acronym for each of them. The key bit, and the way I always think about it, is the end user. The client should be the person who knows where the data is. And it makes it hard when there's various different stakeholders along the way. But knowing that, if you're an asset manager on a huge property and but you've got a whole portfolio, you get given a brand new BIM model. I was talking before about Barangaroo. Big fancy brand new BIM model for it, and it got handed over. First digital twin in Australia. Fast forward 5 years, we were trying to integrate it. Can we get the asset register? No, we don't have an asset register for a life cycle. But we've got this. No one knows how to open it. So it's that, what's thought of for one, for the other. If they all go in different directions, Yeah, billing tenants, so data breaches, and yeah, along with data breaches, I think I've got below that as well, people going bankrupt and yeah, being taken over. There's a big IoT metering company who have been deployed across lots of portfolios. They went into liquidation at Christmas. All that data now is being sold off to another company. So where you've put that system in, and your terms with them are now under somebody else's boat. So it's being aware of what's going on, and then when you get asked for a new report or a new something, are you just going and asking, relying on Claude or relying on another tool? When you do that, anything that you produce using an LLM tool, you're responsible for it. And it's one thing that RICS has been very, very good in advocating, and it's kind of where this conversation started, is that, and even in copyright law, you can't blame it. You can't blame an LLM for producing something. You've put it in, you've taken it back, you're the author. If it gives you false facts and you issue it, you're responsible, not the LLM. There's a few lawsuits around it in the US that have clarified that's going to be a global position. Data democracy, so trying to understand, data democracy is about this idea that getting access to data, and it's not, data democracy is not everyone gets to see everything. So thankfully in the current situation, not everyone in the world can see the nuclear codes. Because we'd be in trouble. Sadly, the person who can might not be in control, but it's that idea that people can get to the information without having to search where they need to. There was a stat that the white-collar worker spends 2.5 hours a day just looking for information, trying to find an email, trying to find a lease, trying to find a bit of information. AI is dramatically reducing that, but if it gives them the wrong information, it's actually going to make it even longer. So data democracy is that way. You've still got control, so you're not letting everyone see everything. It's not anarchy. It's throw everything in this and we'll find it. And it's not a data prison where your IT controls everything, you can't see anything. It's getting to that point where you can get to what you need to. Benefits of doing it that way is that you can go from micro level, where it's information within a building from a BMS or an occupancy system, all the way up to the very top to ask the CEO to ask, well, what impact does this and this have on the value of the building? Moving it up, you can scrutinising information, getting better information, and it's this circle of, well, if we know the data source is right, and we know this happens, we can trust what goes on and feedback and make the right decisions as it goes around, and it enabling agentic and AI use of it. There's no point doing that if you haven't got this cycle going on. You just take one piece at a time, put it into a AI tool, get feedback. You're not improving the loop, and you're not working towards this term of big data where you can see the big picture. This is where we're kind of at the minute. Data security, ownership, integrity, people taking other people's data, people running spreadsheets, taking their spreadsheet, vendors taking information, putting it in another platform. Like I said before, the company was in liquidation, their data sets got sold off as part of it. Because I decided to enter I was going to buy it to see what was actually they were trying to sell. I was like, this shouldn't be included, but they deemed it was an asset of that business. Deploying AI every 5 seconds. So the last 3 months, the amount of people who've come up to me and go, our work's just deployed Claude Work. 6 months ago, our work's just deployed Copilot. I think in 3 months' time, we're just going to be allowed to use OpenClaw, or in whatever the next one afterwards. I'm tempted just to make up a tool and tell everyone go and search for it, but just trying one without a strategy is never going to work. You've got to think the big picture of your AI data. Things that are being asked and expecting there to be a silver bullet. None of the engines, none of anything is perfect yet. And it kind of never will be. That makes sense. BMSs on buildings have been around for so long. For it to be perfect, there'd have to be a sensor in every single place in the building, but they're never going to be. So you're still going to always be relying on people who know, well, no, that's not right. That's not right. It's next, that sensor's next to the coffee machine. I know that the tenants actually, their share price has dropped by this much. That's the reason why they're trying to get out of their lease. There's interconnecting bits, and there'll always be a need for people involved in it. The reason it's so important, it's it's extremely valuable entity, and it's becoming even more when you've got the data sets, and you can, here not so much, in Europe, the new EU Data Act and the EU AI Act, you have to, if you're using AI and training something with it, you have to be able to prove that you're the owner of the data. Be able to show where you got that data from. So if you're using data that you've gathered under an NDA, and then they go, no, that's not yours. So it's become a very traceable, and there's a few companies, there's a lawsuit in the US that the US government brought about where, a certain platform had the leasing rates in a rent-controlled area, what everybody was paying. And so then it would tell the person next door, well, you could get away with this because next door is paying slightly a bit more. So it was giving, and it was the first time that they didn't go after the landlords, they went after the software provider. And then the software provider tried to go after the LLM that was running it, and they went, no, it's not the LLM, you're the software provider. You've told them that they could charge an extra 10% because that's what everyone else is, but you weren't allowed to see that. That was private information. The people who put it into your platform weren't told you were going to be sharing it with the other people. So it's an interesting landscape at the minute. So knowing your context, knowing your data source, and then the boom of, I hate the word prop tech. It's what's called what?
Ask a question. Sorry to interrupt, but so who brought the action there?
It was the federal government.
Okay.
There's 3 or 4. Yardi have got one that's being go around in circles, back and forth. There's CoStar, that one was. So there's been a big, and it's them trying to get clarity around. And that was, I think it was New York. It was the rent-controlled areas in New York were supposed to be, you can charge a fair price, but if you can see what everyone else is paying, and you're below that, the system was telling you, oh, you can charge more, which was deemed, what's it called? No, good. Prop tech, as I was saying, so there's 7,000, there's different platforms that pop up all the time, and trying to categorize every prop tech into a different subset, and the amount of times I get asked to go onto a platform with PIPP.ai, and I'm like, which box do you think? I'm like, none. Like, I'm not that, it's not an AVM. Sorry, question?
Sorry, how does ownership by individual companies improve democracy? Doesn't that silo it even more?
Good. It's a good question. So the democracy isn't every person can see everything. The people who need to see it can see it. So, like within a business, if they need to share, so if you're an external person and you need access to it, that's still democracy that they need, but they know that you can see it. Just throwing everything out in the public realm isn't democracy. That's it's a free for all, isn't it? It's a free for all. And I always use the nuclear codes. Let's put the nuclear codes. Let's put them out in the cloud.
That still requires you to know who has that data.
Yes.
And that's a difficult.
That's the difficult part of everything, and that's what I've spent the last 7 years trying to literally. That's my going. And where's the silos created, and that system doesn't talk to that system.
Right.
A certain building in Brisbane, and you probably guess because you all know it's a different name. Had 13 different names across when we did a big audit for the portfolio. 13 different names just for the building. And which is just insane. And it's that bit of because everyone's what's good. So connecting dots is the key bit, and knowing where you're at, and auditing and being prepared to go, I know that, and then setting boundaries as well. So I think we've got a few managing agents in there, knowing your boundaries here. We work with one client who runs our system, and he's got 6 different managing agents across his 12 properties, which you can imagine from our side, we're trying to go, yeah, they want this one, they're in charge of project management and leasing as well as the FM services, they're in charge of this, but because they've got everything not organised, it's the Mary Kondo of this goes there, okay, that means I know that person can access it and they're seeing the truth. It's not, I'll take a spreadsheet and send it to you over an email. It's no, I'll give you access to where it lives, but you're read only, you're edit only. The investors we're transacting on 2 towers at the minute in the city. The DD room is an agent. So they can just ask questions and it knows everything about the property. And then when it answers the question, below it is a click to link down to download the document that question's been asked from. So it's not we're answering a question, they're going, I mean, when's your next lease expiring? Oh, it's this one and it's here. Click on the PDF, you can have the lease. You can still take all the documents if they want, but the amount of information now that when people are trying to do a DD, it's, yeah, you have to use tools like this. It's becoming, it's insane. Same with valuations, there's so much information produced and so many risks all over the place that you can get into.
I've got to say, it's got to be the right information.
Exactly. And it has to be only one copy of it. That's it
has to be the right information. There's so much data that actually to do a proper valuation or an evaluation, you need the right information that passes the right tests to form your opinions and conclusions. So you can have all the bloody data in the world, but if it's not the right data,
and that's when it comes back to responsibility. So one of the universities we work with, each data set has an owner, and if it's wrong, that person's, and then some of them are actually not just the table, but fields in it. The sustainability person is responsible for making sure that the refrigerants and the type of refrigerant are correct in the asset list, but the FM team are responsible for those bits.
But
Ownership.
There's another story to this. The person evaluating the data has to have some sort of a brain to know what he's actually analysing.
Correct.
And understand it. So that the two.
And I haven't talked about the big problems with AI and the next generation. Like, I'm not going to learn from their mistakes because they're just going to be presented something and they don't know if it's right or wrong. So people coming out of university who before would be sat there going, oh, can you trawl through those 500 drawings and find the stuff they're looking at? Oh, that one doesn't mean anything, that one doesn't mean anything. They're just going to be presented something, and how are they going to know it's right or wrong? Or that's where it's such a.
Sorry, my original statement is, you say I owe you $50,000. But I don't. And now I want you to do a reconciliation for me. And I guarantee you, 90% of people, probably the younger folk coming out these days, wouldn't be able to do a proper reconciliation. And but that gets back to the AI thing. If people are relying on AI, I'm not putting a counter argument up. I'm just saying, if people are so used to reliance on AI, will they still have the ability to do those reconciliations?
And that's the bit, and that's my whole thing, is when you get something from the AI, you need to ask it, where's your data source? Show me the data source. So you can then look at the data source and not just trust what it's told you, go, okay, that's right, that's wrong. Like the next expiring lease on one, because they hadn't cleaned up where they were keeping their, I think I mentioned it before, their old and the new leases. So they had all their expired leases in the level 22, all the expired leases as well as the current leases. And they're asking the AI, when's the next one due to expire? Guess what, it was 2019. That's what it's coming back with. I'm like, it's that data. So, but it gets easier when you start to put ownership on this data sets, you're right. This data set's you're right. Then you can trust it. But if you just try and deploy AI without any of that, without the democracy of going, right, that can look at this, that can look at this, that person's in that department to look after that, that's their responsibility.
But on the data responsibility, like say for a valuation side, that's no different to using any kind of valuation software or spreadsheet or anything, because the amount of times that I've done placements at the UK at valuation companies, and they're meant to be experts, and you go, well, how does that equal that? And they haven't got a clue on the background stuff. They've just got inputs, and they haven't got a clue how that came to that. Yeah. And they've just gone, well, that's what it said. But they, for example, some of the tools only looked at a market that was increasing in value. And you've got no. And when you ask them, okay, if we've got a decrease, and they go, well, I've never worked in a market with the values are decreasing. Right, I've never worked in one. So they haven't got a clue on what's behind it on a decreasing market. And this is, I'm talking back in 2007, I went to this 3-month placement, but that's no different. We get it. You might have the scenarios now where you've got hollow build costs, but you'll go, okay, what's included or excluded in the build costs? If you don't ask the right question, then I don't know, swimming pool that costs $600,000. Yeah.
Face rent. It's what's it called?
And this is showing you even less on the calculation side, right?
It is, but like you should be. That's the bit of going, ask it, and then get it to prove all its data. Like, where did you get this from?
Yeah.
Where did you want it called? So it's going to find the answer quicker, and then tell you how it came up with its logic. And there's some good tools now where you can go, and they give you logic diagrams, and it will go, right, I found this here, done this here. There's a few things coming in the new frontier thing from Microsoft's Copilot, where it will basically show you all the sources it tried, and then you give it breadcrumbs and you say, oh yeah, that's actually the right path to take.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Don't include that one. No, I know you found that first, but don't include that. That's not a good data source. That's not good. So you're guiding it along the way as well, but expecting just to go, boom, there's my answer. Sadly, it's what people think it's going to do, and it's not. You're always still, exactly what you said, you still got to have someone who can go, yeah, that's a spade. No, wait, that's not a spade. It says it's a spade. No, it's not. Yeah. And giving it that feedback, yeah, the amount of times I sit there, and it's the Microsoft gurus and things were over 3 weeks ago. I'm doing a big show and tell, and theirs was, we're just going to sit there, like where we work for computers, the next 10 years is going to be people arguing with computers, going, no, that's wrong. Like, we're going to sit there, keyboard, they think, like, Microsoft's view is the keyboards are going to be dead. There's going to be no keyboards. It's going to be, you're just going to sit there and argue with the computer until you get what you need to. And that's the natural language that we're going back to, almost not sitting there slaves like that.
So that's how I work with Ben now.
Yeah. And like some of my developers, where they sit there with their headphones on and can't conversation, and I'm like, no, get your headphones off. We're sitting there, stop writing stuff, and have a conversation. And people who can talk and discuss problems and get to the right answer, they're the ones who actually need to engage with the AI. But at the minute, it's kind of not. It's kind of the tech heads who are trying to engage with the AI. It's people like yourself who's going to question and go, no, that's wrong. No, that's this. And then when you're doing that, you're actually making it better and learning and getting where it needs to go. Because otherwise, what happens? One of the big universities, a guy been there 42 years. His knowledge of that university campus, every development, everything that's gone on, through the roof, all gone now. He's on the golf course. He's still getting phone calls. Oh yeah, no, you need to speak to this builder. They did this job 4 years ago. No. The chill water pipe doesn't actually go where it says on the drawing. But if he would have been, putting his knowledge into there and sharing his knowledge, and with people coming and going, that's one of the big, retention rates of staff. I don't. How many FMs have you had in the last 5 years on this building? Do you know?
We have had a few changes. Just trying to keep them, buy them.
Exactly.
It'd be nice to have the information.
Yeah. Whereas if you can have them talking all day and getting their bits and pieces from an agent, and then it can go, oh the last FM was asking me this. This is where this might also be useful. Oh you're an FM who likes cheese. Let me also show you the cracker list. That's the bit where it becomes really powerful. This is kind of my the final slide, and then I talk about everyone's got a different problem to solve, but on a Rubik's Cube, I can't solve a Rubik's Cube, and I'll spend all day. My son can go and do it, But what you can't do with a Rubik's Cube is just take a piece off and take it elsewhere. Because if you could do that, then you just take them off and solve it. What's important is that you know that it's eventually it will get solved. If you keep turning all the parts, you're going to get there eventually, but people can't take a piece and do it in a silo there, you can't take a piece in there. Depending on your role in that democracy, you need to see that side. That's solved for you because I can see the releases and I can see the ESG and I'm talking to investors, so that's good. I'm doing the valuations, I need to see this. Some people need to see the whole cube and be able to see what's going on, but it's the same piece, it's the same trusted data set, and there's a breadcrumb back to the person who's responsible for it. Make sense? That's, my 10 cents.
Thank you, Liam. Right, I'm going to revert back to my script. And literally I got the first three words right. Thank you, Liam. To help unpack what this means in practice, you're already asking questions and you're going to get the opportunity to continue asking questions. I'd like to invite our panelists to join Liam on stage. So Liam, you can please take a seat over here. Lisa Murdoch is the National Director of Valuation at Colliers and is head of Queensland Valuation Advisory Colliers. Lisa is a fellow of the Australian Property Institute with more than 30 years in the property industry, specialising in investment valuations across industrial, commercial, retail, land assets throughout southeast Queensland. She is also an experienced special retail valuer and expert witness, and her broader industry leadership includes service on Queensland Valuers Registration Board, API National Disciplinary Committee, and Bond University's Masters in Property Programme. Lisa brings some perspective of someone who's seen both the market reality and the professional standards up close. How did AI do writing that?
Pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah? Okay. Also joining us is Ben Ihle, co-founder and director of Property Technology. We don't like saying PropTech, so I just say hashtag PropTech. Property Technology. Our business, Ben is my business partner at Beyond Condition. Ben is a technologist and software engineer with more than 25 years experience building products, solving complex workflow problems across industries, including travel, payments, AI, and property technology. Ben began writing software very young, in his teen years, before studying computer science and mathematics in Auckland during the tail end of the dot-com boom. His career has ranged from startups and image processing libraries through to engineering leadership roles at What If and Transaction Network Services, before co-founding Attract.ai in 2017 and later Beyond Condition. What always stood out to me about Ben is that he doesn't just like solving problems, he tends to deeply immerse himself in them until he properly understands how the people, systems, and technology all intersect. And I believe that's where we have a good panel here tonight. We have Lisa's basically, I interpret as being at the user end of bringing in all of this AI stuff and then being in that position of how that applies in your organizational context and how you can seize those opportunities that it presents. And Liam is building those products that are offered to those end users as well. And Ben's got that intersection between all of it where he's been kind of like deep in the weeds, actually solving those problems and building those products. So I would like to open up for questions. If there's no questions, I do have some, but would anybody like to ask the panel anything? Yes.
I'm trying to understand where you guys sit in terms of, are you building technologies that properly use AI? Is that the idea?
That's my view is the ethic. Like my AI, I don't keep the data. I put something into your Microsoft tenancy that runs inside your Microsoft tenancy, so I can't see what it's doing with your data.
I didn't hear it. I couldn't.
So I take, like, the way I work, we build something, and then we deploy it inside your Microsoft tenancy.
I see, okay.
So it sits inside, Coles, Lend-Lease, Stocklands,
my
in their system. So it's about that. They should own the data, so I'll put the application there.
Right.
Which is a little bit.
So do you use AI then to write as a programmer, sort of to write the write the code to do them? And that's what I see.
Yeah, and it's changed in the last 6 months. Like the vibe coding tools before that were a little bit useless.
Yeah.
They're getting better, and it depends which platform you're working on. I'm deep in Microsoft stack, so things like OpenClaw that sits outside that I use a little bit for certain things, but yeah, I'm deep in that. And vibe coding, just asking.
I think only because I'm in it with Ben, I feel like that's a good intro into letting Ben intersect, because Ben's come from this place where that has been his career, where he's, to use his words,
all in the bin,
artisanally handcrafted code to the last 6 to 12 months. You speak to your experience.
I mean, the landscape's changed dramatically, and I think.
I'm sorry, could you speak up?
For sure. I think the landscape's changed dramatically. I mean, I'd even say the last 3 months. Yeah. You know, I remember trying out these tools 12 months ago, so not close, 6 months ago, like the beginning of the year. Yeah, it's literally in the last couple of months when there has been a change, and I don't think there'd be too many developers these days that don't use these tools, at least in some capacity. And what that looks like can vary. I don't want to go too deep into this because I'll bore an entire room talking about software development for hours, but you know, the way you use it, and there's probably echoes here in terms of how that relates to your jobs as well, because I mean, you can use it as sitting back and writing a high-level prompt. Hey, go and write this report for me. But also, you know, like you can use it as a tool to help you review. You can use it as a tool to help you just produce a roughly report-shaped block of clay that you can use, you know, to get you in the ballpark and get things rolling. So, yeah, I don't think there's any right or wrong way, and I would dare say that in 3 to 6 months' time, again, it's going to be completely different given the pace at which things are changing.
But what I'm now an IT person. So, and I'm trying to understand how this fits into the picture. To me, when I look at your presentation, I think, well, basically, you are programmers programming AI to use AI effectively, because it's not as a general. If it's just a general purpose tool, it's not fit for purpose for the type of analysis that.
It's not just a glorified search engine.
Yeah, that's right. It is. It's a
that
glorified
uses
search engine.
10 times the amount of energy, 30 times the amount of water. So if you can search Google for, where's my nearest bar? Just search Google. Don't go down
like Google already hooks into
and then turn off the feature where it auto AI as well.
You guys are writing code to use AI properly, and you may also use AI to assist in writing that code, but you understand how to structure that. And that is what really scares me about everybody sort of depending on AI, as though somehow an unstructured question is going to get you it's not going to get you a real answer. It's going to get you.
I think there's you know, there's the easy way to think. I've spent a bit of time reflecting, like probably in the last 2 or 3 months, about what does this mean for the 30 plus years that I've spent every day on the tools, you know, on the keyboard, to your point. And I think really, you know, and this would reflect on anyone, I think, who's using these things, is really what it does is amplify your capabilities. So sure, an average Joe can come along and provide a prompt that's not great, and they'll get something out. But in the hands of a professional who knows what they're doing, you know, I think it really, really can be quite a powerful thing.
What was your name?
My name's Amelia.
Amelia.
Yeah.
I would like to add that I come across this acronym semi-recently, to the point where out of the river of noise that I've swam through to reach this acronym, I think it's worth sharing tonight, because it's helped give me a bit of a framework how I get something out of AI. So, you know, I can stand here and say, I reckon I've got pretty good at using these AI tools. Is it structured in any way? I don't know. I've learned trial and error. I've learned things. But this acronym is DRAG, drag. And it's the closest thing that I've found, and I'm happy to use the input here, that makes sense to me in terms of how I get value out of these tools. D is drafting, R is research, A is analysis, and G is grunt work. So out of 2 buckets that you have, one is basically that stuff there, and the other half is your professional judgment. So from those 4 actions, as Liam was saying before, if you're using it and you've got somebody that's like, we were talking about before, the Gell-Mann, what was the Gell-Mann theory?
I don't remember.
If I read something that I understand, I can poke a hole in it and go, no, there's something not quite right here. But then on a topic in which I'm not an expert, and I read it and go, that sounds right, then that's the paradox, the Gell-Mann paradox. So DRAG, everything on the other side of drafting, analysis, research, and grunt work, that's my professional judgment. That is a lens that goes over the top of it.
Can I throw those 4 letters in there and bring them back down as GRAD? So basically, what you've done is supplanted graduates with AI. And all of that work that you're getting them to do is the reason why you're never going to trust anything anybody younger than you says, because they don't know what they're doing, because they've not got anything to train on. And I'm sure,
which is
like, as a valuer, I mean, I trained as a valuer. I haven't done valuation for 25 years, but I still have that basis that when I look at what I'm doing now, and if I hadn't gone through, so I used to work for the Inland Revenue in the UK, we talk about analysing rents. We used to get a 6-page, it would have had, I don't know, 70 questions on it to help us analyse rents for every single property in the country. And now, doing it in a very different way, but I know exactly. It's been 30 years since I worked there.
You know what that
in my age away. But I still know how rents are put together and all the different bits and pieces of that, because people, like a mum and dad who owned a hat shop, had to fill that form out every 5 years so that we could do the revaluations. And you don't have that much data going into your models now, because nobody collects all of those little tiny pieces of information. So it's really interesting how we're going to actually bring through young people into a profession where you don't have any of that.
I think we have a bit of a luxury here, because Ben and I certainly don't foresee being in the position of bringing up those younger people. This is our business and we're running it. And we feel quite lucky that these tools are available. But certainly, yeah, for those larger organisations that used to heavily rely on the younger talent coming in, I don't know what the answer to that problem is, and they've got to solve it.
An organisation like yours would have had some grads back then as well.
Across multiple industries, to be honest, especially with outsourcing tasks to the Philippines, for example, and things like that. Like, even, I know one of my sisters is a solicitor, and she's often saying they don't know how to do these tasks because they don't do them. Yeah, and it's just a knowledge loss. It's like they don't know how to lay bricks because they're not going to school to lay bricks anymore. Like, it's a whole world issue.
Well, let me pull this back a little bit and bring Lisa into the conversation. From a valuation advisory perspective, what would make you trust or distrust an output when the advice has to stand up to scrutiny?
Make me trust or distrust. Well, I use AI all the time, and I use it to. I'll answer it this way. I use it to check work. I think it's part of it. Like, I'll write a paragraph.
Yeah.
Make it write that nicer. But it's my work, right?
Yeah.
I've written the paragraph, and I'm learning to prompt it to say I want it to say blah blah blah, or go and draw upon the vast. It's just as a glorified search engine, right? But I get. Speaking of young people, I have a team of young people as well that work for me, and they sometimes use it to write these market commentaries. I've seen them, that's really interesting. And I'll read it and I'll go, well, that's just rubbish.
Mm-hmm.
Because I might know the location that they've drawn from a bit better, or and I test it. So I've used it to write a description of a shopping centre, for instance. You don't really write rental evidence up, and you might write, Runaway Bay Shopping Centre is a sub-regional shopping centre, and it's got 500 tenants and blah blah blah. And I tested it with centres that I knew, and it was pretty bloody good. It had the right majors. It had, it's obviously drawn. It's gone and got this bit of data. But I test it because I test it first with stuff I know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing, and I'm trying to teach my young people, my graduates, to not just blindly believe it when they're using it as a search engine. But what I think the real opportunity here is, and I think this is where you're going with your skills, is to use AI to make to develop things that make us more efficient and to gather the data that we've got in a better way. And then ultimately, I guess, and we're not there yet, to be able to use that data to then produce reports or integrate it into our reports that we've got. One of the things that my husband is very involved in AI is just from a private interest point of view. So he's been able to use it to create, I guess, a bot that goes and gets a whole lot of data from a publicly available source and sort that data. And then his reasoning for it is because he's working on an amendment to a planning scheme, and he wants to be able to go back to the local authority and say, you're telling us stuff that is wrong. It's not right. You don't have this many of those approvals. You don't got this many. And there's no way that you could, a human person, well, there probably is, but it would take thousands and thousands of man hours to gather all that data. But that's what I think the beauty of what AI is going to be able to do for us going forward.
That's the agent. So he's creating an agent there. It would depends which platform actually, if you've still got it. But like your husband's then responsible for the skills he's letting it have. He's responsible for the data sources that he's given it. So
and it's publicly available data, right?
Yeah. But he knows it's only looking at that data set. It's not looking at.
He's telling us where to go. It's not looking at. Say it's only looking at one local authority area. It's not looking at ones outside of that area.
One, like in the Microsoft world, like people are going, Copilot doesn't work. I'm like, you just turned it on. It's got visibility of everything in your whole Microsoft 365. You keep Alanis Morissette in your OneDrive because you've got some of your private music in there. It's capable of reading the lyrics of the music, and if the lyric says, do you know what I mean, I was born here, that's part of its knowledge. So you have to narrow it down and know what tool, which agent or bot to use at the right time, and that it's trusted, and know when it's wrong.
Yeah, and you're responsible for knowing that.
You're responsible.
What
You
goes
can't
out, you're
pass
still
it
a
out.
professional signing the thing, or
Don.
Yeah, I watched a really interesting thing on it was one of the programs. It was a PhD student's research on artificial intelligence, probably about a year ago or two. What is Netflix? It was on Netflix, and she was talking about built-in bias, and that you can be talking about one thing, political or something like this, and all of a sudden, yes, well, that it produces that particular AI, whatever it is, produces an X answer, and then another piece on exactly the same question produces a Y answer. Now that is called built-in bias. Now that is something that does trouble me about having a hell of a lot of Tom, Dick and Harry's all now are experts. What is the integrity? What is the honesty? What is the etc. 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 It looks good on paper, but it's garbage. So
that's the different types of I call it public.
It's bias.
Yeah,
it's about bias.
And there's people spiking the wealth from political gains as well. Of basically sending someone to just repeatedly say who would be the best prime minister. If you just keep injecting back in, the next version of a LLM that comes out is going to have that information as part of its knowledge, and it's going to say you should vote
you
for
could
Labour.
deliberately be there.
Absolutely,
to try
and that's the difference between a public model
Yeah.
and private models, where you're in control of what it knows, where it gets it from, what it can do. There's lots of different types of agents before we can talk about AIs.
But it's going back to the integrity of the person that has actually written it, or whatever you want to call it.
Trained it. It's a
I
virtual child.
Yeah, I don't even know. So in a past life, I worked on an AI engine. It was an in-house thing. This is not like an LLM or a GPT thing. So this is something we built in-house. And we intentionally stripped back the data points that it had access to. So this was looking at people's profiles, and we intentionally stripped it right back because otherwise, there's signals in there like is it a male or a female, and it's like that can affect things and bias things in certain ways. We didn't want to go anywhere near that, and so this is effectively a sourcing engine predominantly used within IT. So you can imagine it's very largely male-dominated industry as well. And what we found was very interesting, even without any kind of implicit or explicit nudges in either direction, it still biased itself depending on the data that you put in. So even if it didn't know whether it was male, female, for example, there were some very subtle cues which we tracked down later to being things like women, for example, tended to list fewer skills on their profiles, just subtly fewer skills. Whereas guys would tend to spray out. Not always, but just it was.
I think that's a standard acceptance. It's a known fact. I think it's established, like within educational departments when you review. There's a stark difference between how a male and a female.
Wasn't it one place that they looked at something and it was that people they realised it was because they had rugby as one of their interests. And that they were just employing people that played rugby because like the MD and somebody else.
And once it sees that that's what you've chosen and give it positive, it's just going to reinforce that. So that's the other part of it. That once you show you drop loads of CVs in, and when you pick.
Basically, it's a hard problem, and I don't think it's. I don't want to say it's not solvable, but the any AI engine is effectively reflecting ourselves back onto ourselves, and so,
Well, I have another question that also relates to data and accessibility data, and this is public data for the most part, and we're in the retail sector, retail evaluation, and what's interesting is that most valuations have better access to landlord data than they do to retail data. So if you did an AI search and they could say, oh yes, we found millions of things about this, but very few with these other statistics, and that's a reflection. Is that something that you can do weighted searches for? Or?
And I think it's the value that we do a lot of Colliers. Colliers can tell you how long it takes for a certain type of water to arrive in the country, get to the DC, get to the store and sell, and they trigger that, but they can't tell you how many times their doors open and close in the DCs. No idea. And it's because
they don't measure it.
Yeah, because it's been what's called, but they're like AI. They run over it, and then we start talking about the property stuff. And I'm like, where's this data? No.
But they could keep it. I mean,
they're starting to now. They're on a journey of realising the problem is that if the doors break down, the bottles of water don't go out. So they're starting to. But I think it's been different industries. They don't want anyone else to know where they get the water from, they've been very protective of their data sets. Whereas I think real estate's been.
Well, yes, real estate is what do you call it?
Certain parts of
a general thing, whereas retail business models are much more specific
to them.
And that's
You're matching business capital to property capital. Property capital is generic.
Yeah.
Business capital is highly specific, and that traces back to the UK in 1523 to agricultural economics, and agricultural economics matches up with retail property economics.
Because you can have sheep on your land, you can grow crops on your land, and if you have sheep, you need different fences, and if you have crops, so it's all these types of specific things that would change the face of that piece of generic property based on the business model it's used for.
Yeah.
I'll briefly interject because I'm conscious of time. We've got this space until 6 o'clock, and our hosts would like us to vacate by 6 o'clock. So we've got just over 5 minutes, and we'll just spend a couple moments wrapping up. I've got a couple of quick fire questions. Maybe I'll pick one of those. But has anybody else got any burning questions that you want to ask?
Lisa, do you see much of a variance between, say, your staff and the uptake of utilising the various AI?
Look, I think we're at the very, very beginning. I think that AI has got some enormous potential to make us more efficient in what we do, and to analyse data better. But it's our data that we're analysing, not the publicly broad available data. I can see that there's these great opportunities to use AI to do this, to create these agents and to create tools that make us produce something that we can then pass on to our clients, that's more efficient and probably better analysed. So we, for instance, in our team, we have hundreds of tenancy schedules of lots and lots of buildings. That's just within our valuation business. It's not pulling in the data that our agents have and our property management teams have. So there's privacy issues there. There's a whole lot of things to look into. But you know, we have all this data and we don't harness it, and we've got to work out as companies how we harness that information. Now, we in Australia have had a big issue with all the valuation firms use a program, pretty much all use a program called Forbury. Now Forbury has all of every tenancy schedule from every major office building and shopping centre in the country. Now that data goes up into a cloud, and they were talking about
It's moving to the US. I think I saw that.
sold it to the US, and so it's very interesting to hear that the US government is stopping people. That's not their data.
And there's also something, the Patriots Act's got a clause in it about anything that's hosted in the US government's entitled to see the data. So
also, the Australian government won't let that happen, because we've had that issue previously where they don't want their data hosted on a US site.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there's the sovereignty of where there's I'm involved in the Sustainable Digitalisation Project, which is kind of a group of led by the former Chartwell CTO, Sheridan, and it's very much about whenever you go into a case like that, you ask all these series of questions. Where's your data being stored? Like every time you do a deployment of any technology,
Can you imagine all the different
have you asked those questions about before you do it? What happens? Ask in your procurement, not who's got the best dashboard. What happens to my data when you get bought out by a VC? What happens to what happens there? Like,
But unfortunately, clients don't know that, because I've had like some international companies. They're going, they're asking for a valuation fee, and you'll say, I don't know, 100,000 to do a portfolio for the international client. And they say, oh, we've got this company in Singapore, which will do it for us using AI, and I'll get the same figures that you guys can give me. And I've been to the Queensland Registration Board with some of these issues, been to the API about raising it, and they're not getting like the quality valuation. They go, but this guy's going to give you the same figures because AI is amazing. But then when we talked earlier, didn't we, about water security, infrastructure security, everything else that comes along with it, the data they're providing, they don't know what they're releasing, and they don't know what they're getting back. And back to the original question, they don't know where the holes are. But as far as they're concerned, they're getting a sheet with some values down that might suit whatever purpose or need they have of, I don't know, coming up with a value for Australian assets, etc. But they don't know where that data's going. They don't know if it's going to a competitor. And you try and explain that to them, but all they're seeing is like, oh, you're trying to put a scare through it. And I guess that's the same as quantity surveyors with data on buildings or whatever else, that you've got competitors that say, I can measure all your drawings for that development offshore. But what's happening with that data? Who else are they integrating with? Where, what are the professional standards? And it's a challenge that I've had with clients, the international ones, where they don't, they're not holding to the same standards we've got here or regulations.
Thanks, Wayne. I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to just ask a quick fire question, quick answers. If you could stop one manual task tomorrow using any of this, what is it?
Using the keyboard.
Using the keyboard.
What? I couldn't hear you.
Using the keyboard.
If you could stop one manual task tomorrow, what is it? Liam said using a keyboard. Lisa?
Oh, we have to send these fee proposals out, and they're so manual. If we could just say,
So on that,
You could talk about it afterwards.
I got invited to something where they're not going to run an RFP. They want face-to-face 30 minutes. They're going to come up with questions, and then again, and no, they want, because everyone's taking the RFP, putting it in an AI tool, answering the questions, they give it back to them, and they go, it's a waste of time.
Keyboard fee proposals, Ben?
No, I don't have anything myself because anything I solve.
You write a script for it.
Yeah. But on behalf of other people, it hurts me when I see people doing manual data entry. And, it's like,
All right. Listen, everybody, give a round of applause to our panel. Thank you for giving up your time. Thanks to Colliers. I know Attilio is the manager of the building here. I think he's off looking after the building. But thanks for Colliers for hosting us. We are going to, some of us are going to have a beer around the corner at Brewdog. You're welcome to join us if you want to keep chatting. But thank you for coming. And there'll be a few more events this year. Please look out for them online. Thanks, Don.